Hey folks, welcome back. So it's quite windy and for some reason my hair is not behaving as it should do, and it's looking quite grey as well, a little bit like this kind of weather. So yeah, at least I'm synchronised with the weather in Birmingham, the United Kingdom. And but yeah, it's interesting, I think the days have maybe gone where we were getting really nice winters. I say nice, looking at it through rose-tinted spectacles, the snow and everything like that. But these days that would be a hazard for my knees. So I'm kind of happy that it's warmer. It's also cheaper when it's warmer. The energy companies won't like you saying that because they will, and this is probably following on from my last video, the energy companies, represent this kind of elite where they hold you to ransom. I'm just surprised that they haven't found a way of making you pay for oxygen on Earth. Maybe if we allow things to carry on the way they are, maybe that would be the next thing. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to kind of like address maybe something that's, for me, it's quite, it's quite deep. A lot of people laugh at me. It's just started raining, so I'm just going to pop my hood up. So yeah, there's a couple of things that people will laugh at you about, and one of them is like spirituality. Now, if anyone was to say, well, what do you know about spirituality? I'd say pretty much nothing. And I've stopped myself from getting involved too much with the subject because I believe that if I believe that the universe holds the answers, then why do I need crystals and rituals to actually be part of that? It seems like another, not con, but it seems like a bit of a, it does seem like a bit of a con trick again on those who want something different to organised religion, because it then becomes organised spirituality, and there's rules. Now people will argue about this as well, so you kind of lose the essence of the oneness with the universe. So this year going forward, I'll talk about my dreams, because that happens, that they're in my mind when I'm asleep. And a long time ago somebody told me, and they said the rule of thumb with dreams is if you remember that you had a dream but you can't remember what the dream is, then it's just your body figuring out stuff. If you remember the dream in detail, then that is something completely different, and sometimes it means that you've been somewhere, or you've actually experienced something in a different realm. And the weirdest dream I've had, and I've had a lot of these dreams this year, some of them have been quite mundane, so I haven't really talked about them. The biggest ones were maybe at the end of last year. I dreamt about a sort of kind of like maybe it was extraterrestrial invasion, very detailed. And I think and one of the weirdest dreams I had was being in I was in a furniture store, big furniture store, one of those that very open plan. You can sort of see, let's say, I don't know, maybe it's 100 meters, 50 meters across, perhaps, and there's like large pillars in it, that obviously hold up the ceiling. So you have furniture around these pillars and cabinets and stuff like that. And I remember the dream. I was in this store and there was two girls, and they, not to kind of stereotype, but they seemed like they were talking in a foreign language. They looked sort of like Filipino, Eastern Asian, and they were talking to each other. The one was close, halfway between me and the counter. It looked like they were closing down because most of the lights were off, and I was sort of sat. And I wasn't sat, I was sort of stood. I felt I was stood anyway in a dream behind one of the large pillars, probably about 3 foot across maybe, but I was able to stand behind it. I didn't want to be seen, maybe, I felt. and there was one girl who she was stood behind a counter. There was like a light that was illuminating that area, so I'm guessing that was, you know, the counter, and maybe there's an office behind. And the other girl was she was moving around just tidying stuff, and for some reason I stepped from behind this pillar, and girl, this shop worker caught sight of me, and she screamed. Now, I mean, that doesn't surprise me anyway, but in the dream, I remembered I moved as well, and I kind of like walked, you know, like sort of, you know, not necessarily, it didn't feel like I was walking, I just kind of shifted about sort of 6-7 foot to the side, because I was also startled. And I remember I caught a reflection of myself in a cabinet. It was a dark sort of like glass of a cabinet. It was a dark cabinet, a dark wood of some kind. And I remember like catching a glimpse of myself. I didn't really give it much credence, but I just saw that I was completely black, like a black shape, in the shape of a human, but I was just black, like opaque, and that was that. And I really kind of wondered exactly what was going on in that dream. Obviously, a few people have come forward with theories, but you know, if you do watch this, you know, just let me know what your theory might be about that, because it's interesting. And forgive me if I've mentioned this dream on my channel already. I kind of sometimes forget when I don't post for a while what I've actually spoken about or not. But it's kind of really made me think more deeply about, you know, dimensions, spiritual dimensions, and not necessarily spiritual, but just literal dimensions that maybe we can access at certain times of consciousness, certain periods of consciousness, and maybe there's a skill to it. So yeah, one of the things I would like to, you know, maybe get into is more meditation. It's very difficult when there's a lot of noise around you, but there are opportunities to do it, and I didn't take those opportunities last year, and I think I probably should, because last year I was very self-absorbed with my own health, lots of weird things going on. Miraculously, they've sort of, touch wood, and I pray, you know, for protection of this, they've sort of like cleared themselves up. So I'm now feeling physically, even though I'm fatter, a lot fatter than I was, I'm now feeling physically better in a way, mentally better, and it's interesting as well, because last year, you know, when you feel physically not great and mentally not great, but you know, you put on a day-to-day performance, it's almost like there are people out there who can sort of like see that you're not 100%, and there is still that instinct in some people to kind of like exploit the weaknesses, should I say, and yeah, something that definitely, again, I've mentioned this in another video that I've just done actually, but I'm starting to recognise that there's people that exist that don't seem to have. I mean, they function on a level. They'll talk to you. They perform. Some of them are doing okay career-wise. They're on a path. But it all feels very mechanical. It all feels like there's no heart in it. There's no. They haven't got a heart and soul. That's really damning, I know, because everybody's different in this world. And I know a lot of people who are different. My brother's very, very strange in some respects. I understand a little bit more about what maybe made my brother tick when he was around. I mean, he's not dead or anything, but he's just not around. Like, he's physically in a different country, so I'm hoping he's doing all right. Pray he's doing all right, and you know, hopefully, you know, we can sort of protect him. But yeah, it's at this point in time, it's I feel very sort of strange about certain people that I encounter on a regular basis, and yeah, it's these people aren't they're not. You can talk to them, you can like direct information from them, but you kind of feel like they're like a human version of Alexa. So you say something to them, and they'll talk back at you. And it's like, if they have an anecdote, it's almost like they've programmed it into themselves to actually mention this anecdote, and you just don't feel there's any sort of substance. It's almost like they've learned something, like AI. and it's like, you know, somebody AI writing a book. You probably maybe kind of feel the vibes through it, that there's something not quite right with it, even though it's written to a high standard. And, you know, they might even be copying somebody else's writing, but there's just something not quite there, not quite human. I think we're dealing with a lot of different things going on in the world today, and I think there's, whether these people I've encountered, who I know on a regular basis, whether there's something not quite human about them. It's a horrible thing to say, because, you know, am I human? Who knows? You know, am I some kind of hybrid from some other time? Maybe there's a lot of different species. Maybe we're all programmed different, and maybe at some point we'll all have a sort of switched light that kind of turns on lots of different aspects of us that we never knew we had. And obviously, I would like to think we're all the same. I'd like to think there's no difference, and I like to think that at some point we don't have differences between us that we have to bicker about and fight about, because, you know, that would be the ideal, that, you know, somebody can walk in a room, you don't think of their religion, you don't think of you know, the country, because maybe and I'm hoping that you know, maybe religion and, you know, countries will cease to be relevant down the line. And probably, maybe, I would like to think I'm not thinking hundreds of years down the line. I like to think I'm thinking not so far in the future, but it will take something big for humans to actually change their perspective on each other in life. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, really. There's my brother calls these people non-playing characters, which I think is an interesting expression. And but yeah, so going forward, hopefully more investigations, and hopefully I will be getting out on Monday morning very, very early to Sutton Park. And anyone who knows of Sutton Park, it's not a million miles away from Cannock Chase, but it's about a third of the size of Cannock Chase. But as it's one complete sort of section without roads going through it and stuff like that, so there's no traffic going through it, early in the morning it should be very interesting. And part of Sutton Park is actually built on the Roman road. I think it's Watling Street, and obviously there's connections to Richard III and people like that. So it's very rich with history. But I'm looking forward to getting out there first thing on Monday morning. My gosh, I'll have to have a good sleep on Sunday, but it should be good. I'll see if I can fire up my very intermittently reliable night vision. My friend's actually got some new night vision binoculars, which I'm really eager to have a look at, because that might be my next purchase. And we're gonna be trying a lot more sort of like I think it's called contact of the is it called CE5 or something like? Anyway, we're going to be trying a lot more of that in the new year, rather than just like rooting around the woods looking for things that may go bump in the night. Looking to contact for things from above and see if we can make any reasonable contact. That would be nice, and hopefully going forward in the summer we'll have a bit more equipment and we can really sort of have a great night staking out some of these places. But yeah, the idea of paranormal has kind of changed a lot for me. It's now, I think there's more of a spiritual element to everything, and I'm still not sure if I believe in ghosts. I do believe in, you know, dimensional beings that make themselves known. So anyway, folks, I'm going to call it there, and hope that you have a wonderful 2026, and I will speak to you kind of real soon, hopefully in a video, and hopefully it'll be dark and I'll be cold, and we'll see what we can see.